Hello again, brothers and sisters. It is I, Franklin Jones, again, teaching you true Black liberating information. I teach you the truth that many are afraid to discuss. When we try to liberate ourselves based upon the Bible or trying to overcome the Willie Lynch chip, as some calls it, that is no different than a child going into a real war carrying a toy gun. That is no different than that. To believe those things, we do so because we are ignorant. Those who believe those things are ignorant. I will not be silent to appease Black ignorance, especially when Black ignorance is what hinders true Black liberation. Our people are kept ignorant because of our oppressors' monopoly over the information that's fed into our minds. Because they control most information that we receive, they keep our minds believing in things that keeps us from our true liberation. Now, the truth of our plight is we have to understand that there are social sciences. You buy a new car, you have a owner's manual. That manual teaches you how to keep the car running well. There are also manuals for how to run society. It's called social science, okay? But these manuals, we, the commoners, the masses, we never learn of these manuals. But those who are high up in the elites, they are familiar with these manuals of how to run society. We will never liberate ourselves until we learn these social sciences that are used for maintaining white dominance, and they're used to facilitate their long-term oppression of us. We have to understand it's a social science. Even when you see each group in movies and TVs, you'll see there are 5 narratives that assign to each group. Whatever the story is, there'll always be this narrative connected to us. Whether it is a family member on drugs, a family member in a gang, there are these similar narratives you see in all of our stories. They keep certain narratives on each group to maintain certain norms within a society. Society literally functions based upon the narratives, the propaganda. I'll give an example. Although the Jewish Holocaust lasted less than 12 years and resulted in significantly less death, the Jewish Holocaust is given more reverence and sympathy than that of the Native Americans, who millions of more were killed, and the Africans, millions of more were killed. But why is it? Because the Jews were white, and the Jews, they propagate the information about the Holocaust. They amplify it. So the greatest sympathy is given to the Jews, even though their Holocaust was less significant than what was done to the Native Americans as well as the Africans. You see, because the white society controls the media, controls the information, they're able to steer the sympathies of the masses. They tell us who we should feel sorry for. Society is controlled, or society is scripted. And the Jewish Holocaust has been amplified to conceal the fact from the reality that the worst Holocaust in history was a Holocaust implemented by white people against people of color. Those were the worst Holocausts in history. But through their control over information, they have shifted our minds and says, oh, look what the Germans and the Jews. It deflects from the reality that the worst Holocaust in history was done by the white people, the people of color. Our society is scripted. According to social science, in order for a dominant group to maintain its position of social dominance, the narratives that are fed into a society must always exalt the dominant group. This is why you never hear negative narratives about white people. Everything about them is positive. It instills a value system into the minds of the masses that makes us more compliant with white dominance over our lives. It's a social science. We have to understand social science. We also say things like, we repeat things like mentally enslaved, stay woke. And many of us who say these things are just as mentally enslaved. Here's the true way you mentally enslave people. You take control of all of their narratives, and you negatively distort all those narratives. When people constantly receive negative narratives about themselves, they become demoralized, self-loathing. Their collective aggression shifts from their oppressor and redirects against themselves. They also become not only more compliant with their oppressor's dominance of life, they will prefer it. They will fight and defend their oppressors. This is why all Black people's narratives are negative. The white society controls the history we're taught in school about ourselves, that's written by white people. They control our narrative. They control our statistics. They control everything of what we believe about ourselves. When you're watching the movie The Roots on television, it's being controlled by whites. And they learned, social science learned a long time ago, that by negatively distorting everything that black people believe about ourselves, they can condition us to perceive ourselves through a marginalized identity that aids the white society and maintain their social dominance over us. Society functions based upon their narratives. We have to understand that there are social sciences that are being deployed. And this is how they maintain their dominance. Our ignorance of the social science is their greatest power. Our minds have been fixated in silly things like a biblical fairy tale and a silly slave syndrome myth. And the ruling elites are laughing at us. They laugh at us. When we get on social media, we talk about the Willie Lynch, they're laughing at us. Willie Lynch is not how you control a large targeted population. Willie Lynch presents what would be the least effective method used for controlling generations of people. Now, I know that the Honorable Minister Farrakhan talked about the Willie Lynch during the Million Man March. I know that the great actor Denzel Washington talked about the Willie Lynch in the movie The Great Debaters. But they are talking about it because they've all received the false misinformation. Willie Lynch never existed. Willie Lynch presents the least effective way to control people. In order to control the people, it requires a system being constantly reapplied upon the minds of a set of people. If not, as generations move on, the brainwashing effects will lessen. Ours has not lessened. Ours has worsened because the white society continues to reapply their brainwashing upon our minds, keep us believing the worst about ourselves. There are social sciences, and people say, why do they hate black people the most? They hate black people the most because black people are their greatest threats. In a war, you always marginalize and denigrate your greatest threat. So no one will follow them in any revolt against you. You marginalize your greatest target. You brainwash your strongest target. And why are black people the greatest threat? Black people are the white society's greatest threat because of our hidden narrative that they hide from us. You see, the ruling elites knows that it was Africans who civilized the world. They know that. They know Africans were the first to build in stone. They know we educated them. But they negatively distort our narratives to condition us to perceive ourselves as less. If, let's say, for example, this person has a lion and he's afraid of the lion because he knows the potential that the lion is a threat. So he conditioned the lion to believe he's a sick puppy. And all information he presents to the lion is that you're a sick puppy. You're a sick puppy. It is what they call overcoming a superior threat by using a psychological remedy. You keep telling the lion he's a sick puppy. He's a sick puppy. And all the information you feed him, so he functions thinking he needs you over him. It's a social science they're deploying against us. We have to elevate our minds. It's amazing. You know what rappers and preachers have in common? They are both gatekeepers of our mental enslavement. The preacher keeps us mentally enslaved by keeping us believing in the falsehood of Christianity. And the rapper keeps us mentally enslaved by propagating the negative niggerism in our communities. But they are both gatekeepers and don't even know it. They're both gatekeepers for the system of white supremacy, but they're ignorant of this fact. There are social sciences that they use. And in their manuals, they say social science is how people correlate together. A dominant society maintains their dominance by feeding positive narratives about themselves. And they maintain dominance over another group by giving that group negative narratives about themselves. Even there's a social science, the reason why black people are also so negatively depicted. In addition to demoralizing us, here's what happened during the 1960s. During 1960, the African-American community we were seen as a dignified people seeking rights that we should have been born with. Around the world, people started standing up for African-Americans. Many people started standing up for African-Americans. The American government image started to erode because they were shooting of African-Americans. It's also one of the reasons why Dr. King was given the Nobel Peace Prize, okay? So the white society, it totally embarrassed the white society when black people started being perceived that way. So they recognized to continue their subjugation of black people, they had to manufacture societal consent to do so. So they started doing, they had to do something they called a shifting of victimization. They had to shift victimization to make racism appear to be not due to something inherently wrong with white people, but to be something inherently wrong with black people, and to somehow justify white society's racism towards black people. So they started vilifying our image, denigrating our image. It's called manufactured consent to mistreat. The same tactic was used by Hitler against the Jews. Now, you gotta remember, in Germany, the Jews spoke German. They had the same skin color, white skin, as the others. That was the neighbors. So what Hitler did, his chief master diplomat expert named Joseph Goebbels started perpetuating all this negative propaganda about the Jews. The Jews are evil. The Jews are bringing down our society. And they started putting all this propaganda about them. And it made the other people insensitive to their plights. So it made the people, when the Nazis came in, stealing their properties, killing them, and taking the other people, they was accepting of it because they manufactured societal consent to do so. Societal consent to do so. We are under a long term of manufactured consent. It makes white cops killing of black people so easy because they have made us appear to be the villains. And sometimes a white person will kill a black person and simply get off by saying, I feared for my life. Our black skin has become the weapon. Everything are sciences, and we cannot liberate ourselves without first learning these social sciences and then developing counter strategies to overcome them. The white society uses his monopoly over the information we see, over the media, to create societies that serves him. The reason why, think about it, millions of black people now insist that we're our worst enemies and revere as whites. Come on. This mindset that is totally beneficial to the white society was indoctrinated into the minds of millions of black people through the white society's monopoly over information that we receive. We have to elevate our minds and understand there are social sciences that are being used for maintaining society. And we're so ignorant of it that we go through it like in our schools, for example, we're being socially engineered from a time where from pre-K to 12th grade through an education that denies most of our racially affirming facts from us. So we grow up thinking that we are the leeches of society that haven't invented much throughout history, when the hidden reality is that most inventions that revolutionized the world were either invented by black people or directly inspired by black people. But most black people graduate from high school not even knowing that. Most black people graduate from high school believing that our contribution is minimum to athleticism and entertainment. Now, so when this is our mindset, we have been conditioned to perceive ourselves through our marginalized identity that aids the white side in maintaining their dominance. Like, many people don't understand why the white society is fighting against the curriculums in our school. The curriculums in our school is designed to, schools are tools of the government designed to mold the students' minds accordingly. The curriculum we're taught is designed to inspire and nurture the self-esteem of whites and to marginalize black people. It exalts whites. When a white person graduates school, they've been programmed to believe that they're superior and are therefore supposed to rule over black people. This is why some white people subconsciously can't work for a black person. They feel it's out of order having a black boss because they've been socialized to think that way. Black people are denied the racially affirming information about ourselves because it conditions us to accept ourselves through a subordinate identity. These are all social sciences. Well-founded, not gimmick, not rumor, not some conspiracy theory. All societies function based on narratives. I'll give you another example. When America wants to go to war, okay, they start putting out propaganda vilifying the other group because they're creating sentiments within the society to make us accepting of the pending war. Society is socially engineered. Before Gaddafi died, before they murdered Gaddafi, 8 months prior to, you kept seeing the news about him being wacky, being crazy, and I told my friends, they're getting ready to take him out. Because now they're vilifying him, they're marginalizing him, They're creating a setting to justify what they're about to do to him. They start using the word tyrants. Society is our themes, our sentiments, our minds, our perceptions are controlled by men that we don't even know about. Society is shaped. How do I say this one without sounding I'm attacking? Okay, let's do this. If you're old enough, you remember how the anti-gay sentiment in America changed, how it changed a great deal. And it started through movies. They started doing these television shows. And so where gays used to be humanized, they start humanizing them. Will and Grace, these different shows, you know, Gay Guy for the Queer Guy, one of those shows. But you start seeing all of these shows where the gays were being depicted, not vilified, not denigrated. And all of a sudden you see our society becoming more accepting. They became normalized. Because our society is socially engineered through the media. Now, they never try to change black people's image in the media. They keep our image denigrated. Because our denigrating our image serves many different purposes. By denigrating the image of black people also, you see the ruling white elites are fearful of the white masses. Okay? They don't want the white masses coming after them. So by denigrating black people and making black people being the scapegoat of everything with the white society, this keeps the white masses' minds directed away from the ruling white elites who are actually exploiting them, taxing them, doing things to them, and they keep focused on the black people. When the white man says, damn niggers, he's so busy focusing on us that he's not looking at those who is taxing him, taking his money, who's controlling him. Black people have no control over white people's life in America, but they blame us. When the truth is, it's the ruling white elites who are controlling the white masses. So denigrating our image, vilifying our image also serves that purpose. Our society is scripted by ruling elites. They shape our minds in ways that serve their agenda. They shape our perception in ways that serve their agendas. They are social sciences. And if we don't learn these social sciences and then develop counter strategies, we were going to remain ignorant and mentally enslaved. We have to understand that there are systems and there are a lot of propagandists and their jobs, their full-time jobs, they have propaganda schemes. They steer our society towards certain objectives. That's why when the American government was trying to push, if I say it, I may get flagged, the jab, when they want people to get a jab, those people who were speaking out against the jab, they started flagging you, stopping your page, going after you, because they want to control the narrative, and their agenda was to get more people to put a jab in their arms. So what they started doing, they started going after anyone who said anything different. And if you watch the news, all people who talked about the jab from an opposite perspective, they were described as lunatics, ridiculous, crazy. The ruling elites steer society to serve their agendas. Their agenda is also to maintain their white dominance and to continue the subjugation and exploitation of black people. If you don't learn social science, you're one of the ignorant ones. If you think that a Bible written by history, proven most ungodly group of people will set us free, you're one of the ignorant ones. The people who wrote the Bible were the Romans, okay? It wasn't Ethiopian. The Ethiopians didn't get the Bible until 16 years after the Romans wrote the Bible, and they imposed it upon the Ethiopians. The people who wrote the Bible were Romans, who engaged in massive orgies, bestiality, sodomy, debt sports. These are the people who wrote the Bible, and they continue these facts even after writing the Bible. These facts totally disqualifies the Bible from being the true words of God. Come on. Function based upon what is true. Function based upon reality. Your mind is stuck within the matrix. A real life matrix is created by the white society's monopoly over information and media images. And by projecting the narratives and media images they want you to see, they have distorted your interpretation of reality and having mentally enslaved you. One love and peace.